Her Back is one of the latest horror movies coming out this weekend, following a brother and sister. After an unexpected death in the family, they find themselves in the foster care system, paired up with a lady played by Sally Hawkins, where everything seems to be going just fine until strange and creepy things start occurring. And that's all. Pretty much without any spoilers, you guys, this will be a spoiler-free review. I'ma be honest, this is one of those movies where hopefully you didn't watch too much of the trailers or didn't look into too much about what this movie's about, because I think kind of going in on a blank slate will really set yourself up for a much more enjoyable time. But either way, I'm going to try to be vague, but I still will be touching upon points of the general story and nothing really more. Okay, so I was really excited for this movie, mainly because of the directors. This is the second film done by the Philippou brothers, the Rocka Rocka brothers, who started out here on YouTube. Huge inspiration for somebody like me. Content creators who were just doing their own thing for years until they put their skills to use and actually made a movie, Talk to Me. And oh my goodness, I absolutely loved Talk to Me. That was such a great surprise the year that came out. So of course, now that we're moving into their second movie, I was curious, all right, are they a one-hit wonder? Do they have more up their sleeve? Will it be a lot more of the same? What is there to be expected with this next film? And after having seen this about 2 weeks ago now, I can easily say, these guys are the real deal, and I am now easily excited for any movie project they have coming up. Bring Her Back is an extremely solid, super well done horror movie that genuinely terrified me and got under my skin. And that's one of the things that makes me kind of loathe these guys. I'm so envious of what they were able to do. They're setting the bar a little too high for YouTubers turned filmmakers. Can we have something like a Smosh movie or a Fred movie? When YouTubers were making those kind of movies, I was thinking, all right, I could probably get on that level. How am I supposed to do this, Rocka Rocka brothers? Joking aside though, they really get what makes a horror movie just creepy, unsettling. Starting off with some of the things I really loved about this movie is, for one, just the originality with the story. Again, I don't want to go too much into details about what happens. In fact, even the movie itself doesn't dive too deep into the actual supernatural thing that happens in this film. It gives you just the right amount of information you need to kind of go, oh, okay, so that's what's going on here. Dang, that's creepy. But it doesn't overextend itself or try too hard to explain. Another really solid horror movie that I thought felt victim to that was something like Jordan Peele's Us. I'm someone that loves Jordan Peele's Us, but I felt when it came time for the movie to kind of explain or dive into what were these tethered, the movie fell apart a little bit, and you could poke a little bit of holes and go, I don't know if this makes all that much sense. Great movie, but just a little logic lost here. Bring Her Back, I love just the small amount of intrigue that they let us know into what's going on and the danger our characters are put through, and it's really interesting stuff. Sally Hawkins in this movie, oh dude, it is so funny to think of her as the main mother in Paddington, but also she was the lead in Shape of Water, where she was fantastic in that, so I should have known she had range. In fact, she didn't even want to show up in the third Paddington movie because she's like, I've done all I can with that character. What else am I supposed to do? And yeah, seeing her here and Bring Her Back, you could see why an actress of her caliber might be bored with doing the same role just over and over. Because, dude, I hated her in this movie. I cannot stress enough how mad she made me, and that's all complimentary to the way she's supposed to be in this film. This is how a solid villain is done in a horror movie, and just seeing the journey she goes through and the steps she's trying to take in this film had me hooked in. Because I know there's probably some people asking, well, is it a lot like Talk to Me? I would say this movie is pretty different. I've seen a lot of people say that it's more of a slow burn, but sometimes people can be weary when you call something a slow burn. You're like, oh, so you mean it was boring? And to me, I'm kind of surprised the people that called it a slow burn, because I was fully invested into the characters. They do a really good job of setting up our leads. You have the main character, Andy, played by Billy Barrett, who's just this protective older brother. Yeah, he got into some trouble in his youth, but after the loss of his parent, he just wants to make sure his sister, who is blind, is well taken care of and is given every opportunity to succeed. All this to say, I was easily rooting for this brother and sister, and I totally totally bought their bond. Getting to what I was talking about with like the thrills and scares that genuinely terrified me, that is like a big deal to me. If you can make me, someone whose job it is to watch hundreds upon thousands of movies a year, 60% of those probably being horror movies, if I see something now in modern day that as a grown man actually makes me scared, get goosebumps, or look away from the screen, you have done something right, because that doesn't happen very easily for me. But now with Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, there are those traumatizing scenes that really take advantage of everything a horror movie should have. I think one of the underrated things that the Rocka Brothers use really well in horror is the use of sound. Sound is so important in horror, and I think sometimes other filmmakers take that to mean, oh, okay, so we need that jump scare music, that really loud horn to jolt your body and get a cheap scare out of you. No. That's the lazy way to do it. What happens in like Bring Her Back or Talk to Me is that every sound is amplified to the point that you feel like you are in the room. Like, one scene that I want you to look out for. There's a part where the brother just starts cutting up some melon with a knife. And in that moment, before more crazy things happen, listen to the way sound is being used, the sound of the knife, the chopping of the melon, how you can just hear how watery and moist that fruit is. And every sound paired along with movements just helps amplify you and put you into that moment. So then when something really gruesome happens with that knife, you feel absolutely disgusted and like you're almost feeling that pain with the character. Along with the great use of scares and sound mixing in the movie, there are some beautiful shots in this film. Really great dynamic shots and things that make you stand back and go, oh, dude, that's a cool shot. That's a cool transition. Oh, they're doing something sweet here. My favorite one had to be one involving the mother when she's looking out the window and faces a line. You'll know it when you see it. And that was like, dude, sweet shot. So really, I can't sing the praises enough. This is easily going to be one of the better horror movies this year, and I'll be surprised if this doesn't at least end up in my top 5 when everything is all said and done at the end of the year. It also solidifies my faith in the Rocka Brothers, that they just know what makes a horror movie good. If I'm going into a movie that's an original idea by them, it's going to be creative and different. The only like downsides I honestly have to say about the movie is there are some things that happen in the final act where I was kind of bummed about. If anything, it might be a compliment of the movie because a character that I didn't want to have a terrible fate ended up getting one. And it actually like upset me. I was like, no, why'd you do that, movie? But that's like my real only complaint. Everything else about it, I'm just super well done. So when it comes to Bring Her Back, I'm gonna give Action 2.5 stars. This does have a slower pace than Talk to Me. There's just a lot more build up to those scare and gory moments, but I think when they come, they are worth it. Horror in the movie, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. The Rocka Brothers are great about adding just the right amount of humor and levity to lighten up the situation without taking away from the scares on screen. Drama in the film, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I was really drawn into the story. I was intrigued with the supernatural element, and I was also super appreciative of them just giving you the right amount of information to what's going on without diving too far into it and overcomplicating what ended up being a pretty great story. Horror in the movie, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. This had my goosebumps going. This had me turning away. This had me feeling icky and gross, and I love when I can find a horror movie that'll actually do that to me. And suspense in the movie, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I did think because of the slower pace, you do wait a while for that moment, but a lot of suspense will come in the later half of the movie. Casual moviegoers, I'm gonna give it a B+, mainly because since they don't dive too deep into the supernatural element, and if you're not paying attention on screen during certain parts of the film, you will be lost to the supernatural element and completely confused to what's going on. And also, it's pretty graphic and gory, and sometimes casual audiences aren't into that. Cinephiles, I'm gonna give it an A-, and critically, I'm going to give it an A-. When it comes to Bring Her Back, I think this is not only a movie you should enjoy in theaters, it's one you should add to your collection at home.
That's a keeper, yes.
Honestly, really solid job. I can't wait to see what else the Rocka Brothers have. They're talking about their script right now for Talk to Me 2. I'm sure that'll be great, but anything else they go on to do, I'm going to be seated for. Anything, everything, be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.